Hi everyone, Pastor Thomas Magnuson here, and happy St. Patrick's Day. Do you know the real St. Patrick or why we celebrate it? I wanted to give a really brief clip on who this Patrick was and why there's a day named after him and it's been celebrated for so many years. He's an important figure in Christian history. So St. Patrick, he grew up in England, but at the age of 16, he was taken by Irish pirates and enslaved for about 6 years. 6 years of his servitude on this Irish ship, and he escapes at nightfall. And he has to traverse over 200 miles of shoreline to make it back to England. And he does, but he doesn't stay in England terribly long. As a matter of fact, while he was a slave, he became a Christian. And so in his time in England, he devoted himself to theological study and he became a priest. But he still had this deep burden on his heart for Ireland, so much so that 25 years after fleeing Ireland, he gets on a ship to go back to Ireland and begin to share the gospel on the shores of Ireland and with all of the leaders in Ireland. Now, Western civilization at this time was kind of in a turbulent place, right? Rome was crumbling. Rome eventually would fall in 476 AD. And Patrick, he goes back to Ireland in 432 AD. So this is kind of leading up to the fall of Rome. And Ireland itself was, well, ran by a king, but also very, very territorial leaders in the area that were very dangerous. So much so that we have Patrick being quoted as saying, "Daily I expect to be murdered or betrayed or reduced to slavery if the occasion arises." But then he says this, "But I fear nothing because of the promise of heaven." So Patrick is devoting himself to sharing the gospel with these pagan rulers, who many of which did not want anything to do with the gospel of Jesus. But over time, people begin to believe on Christ and to share this with their people. And Patrick is making disciples of Jesus, who make disciples of Jesus, all the way to the King of Ireland, who actually believes on Jesus for salvation. Now, Patrick was doing a very, very incredible work, God working through him, but this was a very, very dangerous time, as I mentioned. And Patrick, being courageous, being lauded as the apostle of Ireland, in his autobiographical work, the first thing he says is this: "My name is Patrick. I am a sinner, a simple country person, and the least of all believers. I am looked down upon by many." He was a humble servant of Christ who devoted his very life to sharing the gospel with those in Ireland. He would pray a prayer of protection. At least this prayer was attributed to him, known as St. Patrick's Lorica. And it says this, you might have heard it: "Christ with me, Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ in me, Christ beneath me, Christ above me, Christ on my right, Christ on my left, Christ when I lie down, Christ when I sit down, Christ when I rise, Christ in the heart of every man who thinks of me, Christ in the mouth of everyone who speaks of me, Christ in every eye that sees me, Christ in every ear that hears me, Christ in the mouth of everyone who speaks of me." How beautiful is that prayer? So we celebrate St. Patrick's Day because this man, filled with the love of Jesus, not only forgave his captors, but wanted to go back and to share the very hope that he discovered in Christ with them. And because of God using this simple country person, the world celebrates a day based on his acts and deeds. And even more importantly, the nation of Ireland was reached for the gospel of Jesus Christ. So may we celebrate St. Patrick's Day rightly, sharing his story, his courageousness, his love, his humility, all because he was viewing Christ, and Christ was his treasure. Have a great day. I will post some of the articles that I have this information from in comments below. And feel free, if you have any questions, to leave some comments.